Your home can be secure. Your doors can be reinforced. Your food can be stored. Your plan can be ready, but your home can still be vulnerable. Not because of what's inside it, but because of what's happening around it. Your property is actually your first warning system, and most people never think about it. Under normal conditions, we rely heavily on the systems around us. Police patrol neighborhoods, utilities monitor infrastructure, streetlights illuminate the dark, emergency services operate within predictable response windows. Even the routines of neighbors provide signals that things are functioning normally. But when those systems slow down or stop, the environment around your home changes quickly. Streetlights can go dark. Traffic patterns shift, emergency responders become overloaded. Familiar routines disappear. Suddenly, the environment that is surrounding your home becomes far more important than people realize. And here's the part that almost no one talks about. The biggest mistake people make during extended disruptions has nothing to do with the equipment. It's something much simpler and more dangerous. And we're going to go into that in a few minutes. Today we're going to talk about property and surroundings awareness, the space beyond your front door, and how responsible families maintain stability when systems around them become unreliable. This is not about confrontation. It's about awareness. It's about calm systems. It's about buying time, because preparedness isn't only about what happens inside your home. Sometimes the most important information happens outside of it. Now, under normal circumstances, most of us rarely think about our property in terms of awareness. The environment around our homes function almost automatically. Traffic flows predictably. Utility crews maintain this infrastructure. Police and emergency services circulate through communities. Street lighting keeps the environment visible. Even neighborhood activities follow patterns. People leave for work at certain times. Kids arrive home from school. Garbage trucks run on a schedule. You see where I'm going with this. These rhythms provide constant signals that everything is operating normally. But during large disruptions, we're talking storms, infrastructure failures, extended power outages, or civil instability, or events that I'm not going to mention by name, the signals start to disappear. Streetlights may fail. Traffic becomes irregular. Emergency vehicles become stretched thin, responding to multiple calls. I've seen this. Neighbors behave differently. Preparedness means noticing these changes early, because awareness provides options, and options reduce panic. This is where the concept of 12-hour mobility comes into play. Some people hear the phrase 12-hour pack and immediately picture something overly tactical. And that's not what this is. A 12-hour pack is simply a stability kit. It is a system designed to support you if you need to spend extended time outside your home when the environment becomes uncertain. This might include checking your property after a storm, walking fence lines on a rural acreage, assessing damage after high winds, moving between structures during a blackout, or simply maintaining awareness of the environment around your home. Under normal conditions, this is simply preparedness redundancy. But when systems become unreliable, mobility becomes extremely valuable. Mobility means you're not stuck. Mobility allows you to observe conditions firsthand. Mobility allows you to make decisions calmly rather than react emotionally. And later in this video, I'll show you one thing that people almost always leave out of their 12-hour kits that cause problems during real disruptions. And it is surprisingly simple. But we need to talk about the basic systems. A I've got two of my 12-hour mobility systems that we're going to talk about here in a second. But first, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button that tells YouTube that more people should see this. There's also a newer button on YouTube. It's called the hype button. If you hype this video, thank you. You can also support this channel by supporting your own preparedness. In the description, there are discount codes to save money and links to products that I use and I believe in. The big one is my freeze-dried food solution store, Thrivalist, which also teaches survival courses. Plus, my preparedness list on an Amazon link. I use these sources and I've made it easy for you to prepare as well, using my experience to your advantage. Thank you for your support. Let's get back to the video. The contents of a 12-hour stability kit are actually very simple, and we're going to talk about why there's two different ones, and that has to do with the environment that you are into. This isn't about carrying everything you own. It's about supporting basic human needs during an extended outdoor activity. So water is the first priority. Hydration becomes critical during any physical activity, especially if you're walking property, clearing debris, or assessing damage. A small water supply combined with a purification method allows you to stay mobile without worrying about running dry. Medical supplies come next, and you can get away with doing something for a little excursion outside the house with just some simple things like gauze and band-aids and a couple other things. And that's for minor things like scrapes or cuts. But I would suggest you go with something more like this advanced first aid kit. Minor scrapes happen easily when working outdoors. Cuts and scrapes, twisted ankles. A compact medical kit like this allows you to stabilize small issues before they become big problems. And this kit, and if you've watched the video that I did making this kit and showing exactly what's in it, this kit allows you to deal with some of the bigger problems as well, because it has some more advanced features than just typical first aid. It goes beyond the band-aid. Weather protection is another critical category. If you need to be out 12 hours, something like that, weather conditions can absolutely change quickly, and there can be rain, there can be wind, there can be cold temperatures, and they drain energy faster than most people would expect. Even simple items like, let's just grab this, a poncho, or let's get these out, just simple leather work gloves. Additional layers can make the difference between staying productive and becoming exhausted. Your clothing that you decide to go out in should consist of layers that allow you to put on or take off, and that's why you need a little bit extra space in these packs, and I do, so that I can take off at least a layer and add it back on when I get cold or too hot. Another thing with a poncho like this, and this is a military type poncho, don't get too hung up on that. It means that it is multifunctional. It is a poncho. It goes on over your hood. It's actually got a drawstring hood. It covers your entire body, even with one of these backpacks on. So your backpack is essentially waterproof then. It also has grommets in the corners, just like a tarp, so you can set that up as a shelter. It's wearable shelter as well as a shelter that you can put over you if you're under rain, snow, or it can be set up to protect you from the wind. Illumination is also essential. When power systems fail, darkness returns quickly. Reliable lighting allows you to move safely and avoid accidents. Have something that allows you to switch modes so that you can have red light so that you can see but don't wreck your night vision. That's important. And have redundancy. I have two flashlights, one for each of these bags, and then I also have more of a tactical headlamp, and then I also have more of just a regular hiking headlamp. This one's from Duracell, but it has red light, which is important to me. Communication tools can also become very valuable in a situation like this. During disruptions, normal communication systems may become unreliable. So have a method of alternate communication beyond a cell phone in the event that things happen. Figure that out for your area. Something like this may not work well in an urban environment because it can't have that reach through buildings and around buildings. So find a system that will. I should do an entire video on communications, but I'm sure you can find something out there. But it's important that this works for what you want it to work for, and that everyone that is involved, if it's a partner back in the house, if it's other members of your group, make sure that you have a communication plan, that you have a channel that you're using, and then you also have several alternate channels if that one becomes not usable or compromised. Also with radios, they are one of the most easy things to track if someone is looking for you. So if someone is looking for you and you don't want them to find you, don't use a radio. Even simple redundancy like a battery backup can make a huge difference to keep these different things charged. Documentation is also something people rarely consider, but it can matter. Have something to write things down. We're so used to relying on our phones for everything and remembering everything for us. Have something to write it down. Identification, emergency contacts, or important notes may be useful if you need to interact with responders or navigate unusual circumstances. Moving on to calories, calories matter. Energy intake becomes important during extended physical activity. A few compact food options help maintain stamina and prevent fatigue. The goal of this system is not to carry excessive equipment and food. You're not going out for a huge amount of time. This is 12 hours maximum. The goal is to support mobility without exhaustion. Mobility creates awareness, and awareness creates stability. Personally, what I have in this little package, and you can watch the video that we make our own DIY MREs, is I have a couple instant coffee packages. And because I'm almost zero carb in my diet, I've got a low carb tuna salad, and I've got some little Vienna sausages in a can. And the idea is to keep going without carrying so much. Let me ask you something. If your power went out tonight and you needed to walk your property for 2 hours, what would you bring with you? Most people actually haven't done a whole lot about that. And thinking through these scenarios ahead of time is exactly how preparedness systems get built. Another factor that often gets overlooked during preparedness planning is clothing. What we wear communicates information whether we realize it or not. Under normal conditions, the goal is practicality. Comfortable clothing appropriate for the weather that allows for movement. But during unstable conditions, clothing also becomes a matter of discretion. Blending into the environment often becomes more valuable than standing out. And that leads me back to these packs. One, you can see blends in a lot more with a natural environment and also in more of a tactical way. Even having an e-tool attached where you can dig or you can provide shelter for yourself. Having something to sit on for extended periods of time. This has been an amazing little addition as it just folds out and weighs almost nothing. Having a more regular backpack when you're in an urban environment or a town, or having something like this where you are trying to do more discrete movements in the outdoors. And this goes for clothing as well. In so many videos on this subject that I've watched, I've seen if there's something major, I'm just gonna grab all my camo gear and go out to the woods. And while that sounds cool, that sounds fun, as you know that I like being out there, is that really what we're going to do in certain emergencies? In certain environments, it may mean wearing outdoor layers appropriate for the terrain and camouflage and climate. In more of an urban environment or one where you're actually going to see more people, it may make sense to wear something completely different. Here's an example of that, and you can see the difference between the two. But there's actually one clothing mistake that people often make during instability that attracts attention instead of avoiding it. We're going to talk about that in just a minute because clothing is only part of the equation. Power outages dramatically change how we perceive our environment at night. When the grid goes down, darkness returns quickly, especially in areas accustomed to constant artificial lighting. Tools that assist with night awareness can be helpful, but they should always be viewed as supplements rather than solutions. Technology has limitations. Batteries eventually run out, devices fail, environmental conditions interfere with performance. Night observation tools, infrared monoculars like this one, thermal devices, or similar equipment can assist with situational awareness during outages, but they should never replace planning or observation habits. Technology is helpful. Systems endure much longer. When people begin carrying equipment for extended periods of time, organization becomes extremely important. Load distribution systems, whether packs, belts, or chest rigs, exist primarily to reduce fatigue and improve accessibility. If equipment is organized properly, it can be reached quickly and safely. If items are buried or scattered, valuable time gets wasted searching for them. Good organization also reduces physical strain. Weight distribution matters far more than most people realize. Carrying equipment improperly causes fatigue much faster. This takes practice and experience with your gear. Preparedness systems should always extend endurance and not shorten it. And endurance matters more than intensity during long, prolonged disruptions. Earlier, I mentioned one thing that people often leave out of their 12-hour stability kit, and it's surprisingly simple. It's electrolytes. People bring water, but they forget that hydration without salts still leads to fatigue. Electrolytes, there's a whole pile of different brands out there. They maintain energy levels during extended activity. Now remember the clothing mistake that we mentioned earlier. It's wearing clothing that stands out unnecessarily. Overly tactical clothing in calm residential environments can draw attention. Discretion is usually the better strategy. Blending in keeps attention away from you and your household. If you're building preparedness one layer at a time, I have created a free downloadable ebook on building a practical, real-world go bag. This isn't theory for us. Our family has had to evacuate in the past, and these are the exact principles that we relied on. It's simple, tested, and focused on what actually matters when time is short. Consider it a thank you for being here and supporting the channel. You'll find the download link in the video description. Now let's return to the question from the beginning. What is the biggest mistake people make during extended disruptions? It isn't an equipment failure. It isn't a lack of gear. The biggest mistake is exhaustion. People push themselves too hard. They stay awake too long. They underestimate how physically demanding instability can be. But awareness requires energy. Preparedness is fundamentally physical. As exhaustion increases, mistakes can begin to appear. Judgment slows down, attention fades, and small errors compound quickly. The most resilient families understand this. They pace themselves, they rotate responsibilities, they maintain hydration and nutrition, and they rest when possible. Stability isn't created through intensity. It's created through endurance. In this episode, we've talked about something that often gets overlooked in preparedness discussions: property and surrounding awareness. Understanding the environment beyond your front door, maintaining mobility, reducing exhaustion while staying aware of the changing conditions around you. Short-term awareness protects your immediate environment. But what happens when disruption begins affecting entire regions or areas? In the next episode, we're going to talk about something even more important: area awareness and community stability. Because when systems begin to thin out, resilience becomes an intensified individual and also a shared responsibility. And that conversation starts next week.